moment a man shows his desire too openly, he's already lost ground. Whether he realizes it or not, the second he expresses what he wants, he gives away the upper hand. To someone truly strategic, he's no longer a threat. He's predictable. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The more visible your ambition is, the more controllable you become. People don't strike at mystery, they strike at hunger. Once they can see what drives you, they know exactly how to manipulate you. They can bait you, slow you down, distract you, or even dismantle you. Desire isn't inherently dangerous, but revealing it is. That's why real power isn't about eliminating your desires. It's about masking them. In stillness, in silence, in shadows. Because in a world where everyone is loudly chasing something, the man who moves quietly, building behind the scenes, appearing to want nothing, is the one nobody expects. And that's the man who wins. The predictable man is the controllable man. Say you want influence and you invite competition or sabotage. Say you want a woman and suddenly she's testing withholding or playing games. Admit you crave status and people will dangle it in front of you just to watch you crawl. That's not paranoia. That's pattern. Desire invites exposure, and exposure draws attack. Look around. The men who get ghosted, manipulated, laughed at, ignored. They're always the ones who show their hand too soon. I just really like you. This job means everything to me. All I want is a little respect. They think they're being honest, but what they're really doing is broadcasting their weaknesses. They're showing the world exactly where to press. That's the lever. The one people pull when they want to move you. The fool calls it vulnerability. The strategist calls it a trap. We've all heard it. If you want something badly enough, the universe will help you get it. That saying sounds poetic. But Machiavelli would laugh at its naivete, because the world doesn't reward the ones who want the most. It rewards the ones who seem like they don't need anything. The man who looks like he can walk away at any time. That man cannot be manipulated. He can't be bought. He doesn't beg, he doesn't flinch. He retains his negotiating power simply by appearing detached. Think about the difference. One man walks into a room clearly craving validation. Another walks in like he's already won a prize no one else even knows exists. Who captures attention, who commands curiosity, who gets copied, envied, hated, even followed. It's the one who doesn't chase, but gets everything anyway. Why? Because people project onto silence. They get nervous around stillness. They sense power in calm. That's the magnetic pull of cold ambition. Every time you declare what matters to you, you're handing out the script to your downfall. Say you want love, and people will test your need for it. Say you want status, and they'll place obstacles in your way. Say you want revenge, and they'll bait you with emotional traps, even attention. Once you admit to craving it, becomes a poison. You get it, get hooked on it, and then they take it away just to watch you squirm. This is the quiet genius of cold ambition. You're not denying your drive, you're just refusing to parade it. You move deliberately, quietly, with no need to explain. You build behind walls. You let the faint sound of construction be the only clue. And the more unanswered questions people have about you, the more control you maintain. But the second you fill in the blanks, with emotion, explanation, or confession, you give up that power. You become a map, and people love destroying maps because they reveal the path. So many men are trapped in cages they built with their own mouths. They told friends their 5-year goals. Now they're trapped by those expectations. They told their boss they'd do anything for a promotion. Now they're exploited. They told her You're all I think about. Now she's uninterested. Machiavelli once said that it's not necessary for a prince to be virtuous, only to appear virtuous. The same rule applies here. You don't have to kill desire. You just need to appear indifferent to it. Because when no one can predict your next move, you become dangerous. People stall when they can't read you. They second-guess, hesitate, overthink. They create stories. And while they're lost in speculation, you're already 3 steps ahead, untouched and unbothered. That's power. Real power. Not the kind that screams, but the kind that doesn't need to. The man who constantly shares his plans, dreams, and emotions and thinks he's building connection. In reality, he's laying himself bare to people who may not care. And worse, may use it against him. He starts to depend on their validation. And once you depend, you're no longer in control. That's the emotional slavery Machiavelli warned against. Instead, speak less. Plan more. Let your smile answer questions. Keep your motives wrapped in layers. Let your intentions whisper through your actions. If you ever speak of desire, speak of it like you've already walked away from it. That way, they don't see a man in pursuit. They see a man in power. One who could have it all, but chooses selectively. That's not just attractive. It's intimidating. It's the kind of psychological edge most people never recover from. You don't need to erase your hunger. You just need to contain it. Even Machiavelli, though ambitious, never wrote emotionally. He layered his meaning in riddles and strategy, not confession. That's the model. Channel your desire like a controlled flame. Let it burn behind glass, visible to you, invisible to them. Hot, focused, dangerous, but never erratic. Because the man who feels more than he reveals will always control the man who reveals more than he feels. That's the paradox. You can have everything, so long as you look like you need nothing. The second they see you want it, you're no longer the hunter. You're the hunted. Desire itself isn't weakness. Revealed desire is. The world doesn't hear your dreams and say, let's help him get there. It says, let's see what he's willing to give up. And in that moment, you become a pawn. You're not leading anymore. You're reacting. That's why Machiavelli warned leaders. Never put your fate in the hands of others. The moment they know what you want, they don't have to defeat you directly. They just need to get you to chase. And that's what's really happening to most people. They're not being crushed by enemies. They're being controlled by invisible strings, strings they tied themselves the day they revealed their deepest wants. The moment you speak your craving out loud, whether it's power, sex, respect, revenge, you give the world a handle, and the wrong hands will pull it. That's when the games begin. A woman starts teasing withholding because she knows she's got you hooked. A boss delays the promotion knowing you're too scared to walk. A friend keeps stringing you along because he knows you fear being alone. And in every one of those scenarios, it wasn't them who took the power. You handed it over. That's why Machiavelli's cold ambition strategy flips the script entirely. You stop chasing and start being chased. You stop explaining and start suggesting. You stop revealing and start distorting. They see movement, but not the motive. They feel force, but can't detect the direction. And in that uncertainty, you become immune to manipulation. Society tells you, be honest, speak your truth, be vulnerable. But Machiavelli would ask, to whom and for what? Here's the hard truth. Most men who speak their truth aren't being brave. They're broadcasting their weaknesses. They think openness will earn them trust. But in the real world, especially in power dynamics, it earns you exposure. The moment you say, I just want to be respected, or all I want is to succeed, you think you're being transparent, But what you're really doing is giving people the instruction manual for how to break you. You're telling them exactly how to apply pressure. The cold ambition strategy operates on one principle. Never give them the blueprint to your inner world. Make them guess. Let them wonder. Let them make mistakes. Because the less they know about what drives you, the less control they have over where you're headed. That's the genius of being unreadable. When no one knows what you want, no one knows how to stop you. And even better, no one knows how to use you. This is one of the darkest truths of human nature. People admire the man who rises without looking desperate. Desire expressed looks like thirst. Desire concealed looks like destiny. And that's the Machiavellian edge. He doesn't say, "I've been working so hard. Please notice me." He lets his silence make noise. He lets his results start rumors. He lets others whisper, "How is he doing all this without ever showing effort?" That question is powerful. Because admiration is one thing. But envy changes how people treat you. And envy isn't aimed at the man who grinds openly. It's aimed at the man who wins quietly. The one who moves like gravity, who doesn't just attract. He pulls people into his orbit. That's what happens when you make power look casual. There's nothing more intimidating than a man with a goal who doesn't look like he needs to reach it. That's cold ambition. A man who gets rejected but doesn't react. Who loses something and doesn't flinch. Who misses a shot and immediately recalibrates without complaint, without explanation. That composure, it disturbs people because it means you're not operating on emotion. You're operating on something deeper. Strategy. And when people see that they stop treating you like someone who wants something, they start treating you like someone who knows something. That's the shift. Machiavelli understood that cold men don't succeed because they feel less, but because they show less. The more you express, the more you invite judgment. You say you want it, and they laugh. Suddenly you're doubting. You reveal your vision, they poke holes. Now you're defending. You open up about your ambition, and they undermine it, slowly disguised as encouragement. All of a sudden, your dream is no longer yours. It's under public review. That's the trap. You think you're being brave, but you've actually put your future up for auction. You're letting people bid on it, criticize it, shape it. But the Machiavellian, he doesn't play that game. He builds in silence. He moves in shadows. He plants the seed waters. It protects it. And by the time anyone realizes what he was growing, it's already bloomed. No friction, no exposure, no sabotage, just results. That's the move. Building in a world that's addicted to noise. And here's the irony. When you say nothing, people assume everything. And those assumptions, those are your shield. Let them think you're not interested. Let them think you're passive. Let them misread you. While they're busy trying to define you, you're making moves they'll never see coming. Their assumptions become your camouflage. Their arrogance, your protection. They don't guard against what they don't expect. That's chess. You're 10 moves ahead. They're still talking about the first. That's the power of suppressed desire. What you don't say cannot be used against you. Machiavelli saw this with chilling clarity. He didn't warn against desire. He warned against exposure. The modern world wants you loud, impulsive, open. Because once you're visible, you're predictable. And once you're predictable, you're targetable. They can track your ambition, package it, sell it back to you, influence your direction. But when you move quietly, when your desire is invisible, you break that system entirely. They can't copy what they can't see. They can't block what they can't predict. They can't destroy what they don't even know exists. All they can do is fear it. That's what happens when they realize. You're building something in the dark. That's the moment control shifts. Not to the loudest person in the room, but to the one who stopped explaining and started executing. Because when a man speaks of desire, the world doesn't hear courage. It hears leverage. The question isn't, how noble is this man? It's, how can this be used? The moment your ambition escapes your lips, it's no longer yours. It becomes a target. It becomes a liability. It becomes something others can track, monitor, and exploit. Now, you're not the builder of your vision. You're the hostage of it. And Machiavelli saw that outcome a mile away. He warned rulers to guard their intentions, not out of shame, but out of survival. People don't fear what they understand. They fear what they can't figure out. When your motives are hidden, your actions become unpredictable. And when people can't predict you, they don't confront you. They watch you. And the more they watch, the more they stall. And in that hesitation, you move faster. The man who loudly declares his goals. He becomes a magnet for interference. I need this job. I want her. I deserve respect. Now they know where to aim. The employer underpays him. The woman tests his desperation. The world withholds what he wants just to see how far he'll bend. Visibility without leverage is an open wound in a battlefield. And every predator knows exactly where to strike. But the cold strategist, he hides the hunger. Even while hunting, he moves like he's full. That illusion, that posture of quiet confidence, is what makes people give him everything he didn't ask for. In today's world, expressing emotion is rewarded. People want you to share, to open up, to tell the world what you're passionate about, what you're struggling with, what your next big move is. But here's the truth most won't tell you. Emotional expression is a luxury for those not playing for power. Most men talk endlessly about their dreams, their setbacks, their visions. They think saying it out loud will make it more real. But all it really does is make it more vulnerable. Every time you speak your desires, you give people the language to undermine them. You invite mockery wrapped in support. You awaken resistance in those who feel threatened. You stir quiet comparisons in others. And comparison breeds resentment. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's unconscious. Friends, family, even mentors. They'll pull you back without realizing it, not because you're wrong, but because you revealed too much. That's why the cold ambition strategy is so lethal. It doesn't rely on declarations. It doesn't beg for encouragement. It doesn't ask for room to grow. It simply executes. The cold man doesn't post updates every time he takes a step forward. He doesn't over-explain his distance or productivity. He doesn't ask anyone to understand his focus. He just moves. Quietly, ruthlessly, intentionally. And when the outcome arrives, it speaks louder than any announcement ever could. That's why mystery is powerful. Not because it hides something dark, but because it forces people to imagine something greater than what's real. When you say, I want to start a business, you're placed in a category. He wants success. Got it. But when you say nothing, people wonder. Is he quitting his job? Is he investing in something big? Is he creating something that's going to disrupt everything? That curiosity, it becomes gravity. Their minds orbit your silence. You don't need to manipulate anyone directly. You just need to remain unreadable. Because what people can't define, they can't diminish. It unsettles them. It forces them to respect you, or at the very least to stay cautious. And in every environment, whether social or professional, there is always a silent reward structure. At work, enthusiasm is rewarded. In dating, vulnerability gets attention. In friendships, constant availability keeps you liked. But Machiavelli would say, the man who breaks that reward structure becomes king of it. So instead of playing by the rules, change the game. Stay neutral when others beg. Go quiet when others overshare. Walk away when others cling. That's when the tables turn. That's when you become the prize. Now they ask, why doesn't he try harder? Why isn't he chasing? Why doesn't he need us? And the moment they start asking those questions, you've reversed desire. Now they want you. And here's the kicker. They won't even realize it's happening. Your indifference makes you rare, and rarity breeds value. But to hold that position, you must become surgical with your speech. Not to sound cryptic or cool, but to preserve power. Before you say, I'm working on something big, or I really like her, or I hope they notice me, stop and ask yourself, will this strengthen my position or weaken it? Because if it weakens you, if it makes you wait, hope, or crave, you've lost your advantage. You're now playing from underneath. But if you can pause, remain composed, and let your actions carry the message, then you don't just maintain leverage, you amplify it. Because what's not said is harder to attack. What's not revealed is harder to copy. What's kept hidden, it haunts. Think about the most powerful people in any room. They're never the ones over-explaining. They're not the ones justifying their decisions or broadcasting their goals. They move with the quiet assumption that they owe the world nothing. That is power. Because the minute you stop explaining, people start interpreting. And in their interpretations, they reveal more about themselves than about you. They'll wonder what you're doing. They'll craft theories. They'll obsess over your silence. And in every one of those stories, you hold the pen, even if you never speak. That's what gives you psychological presence. They may love you. They may hate you. But they'll never forget you. Because mystery keeps you in their mind far longer than words ever could. This isn't about being bowed for the sake of coldness. It's not about being emotionless. It's about becoming a fortress. You can want deeply. You can burn with ambition. You can ache for change. But all of that needs to stay inside. Because the man who contains his desire controls it. And the man who controls it becomes unstoppable. Let your actions whisper. Let your presence suggest. Let your silence provoke. Because in a world where everyone is screaming for attention, the man who builds quietly becomes mythic. And Machiavelli would tell you, a myth cannot be touched. It cannot be used. It cannot be defeated. It can only be feared, followed, whispered about by those who still don't know what you were really after. Desire makes you human, but desire expressed, that's where the danger begins. Because once people know what you want, they know how to control you. And if someone can control you, they can redirect your entire path without ever lifting a finger. Power, as Machiavelli made painfully clear, doesn't belong to the man who chases. It belongs to the one who moves like he already has it. You can still want the position, the partner, the respect, the wealth. But the second you show it, you shift from being the creator to the one waiting. You're no longer shaping events, you're hoping for them. And that's the essence of the cold ambition strategy. To want without need. To build without announcement. To rise without fanfare, and to let the world feel your presence without ever seeing your flame. Because if they know what you love, they know what you fear. And if they know what you fear to lose, they have the leash. You tell her, I can't live without you. Now she knows walking away is power. You tell your boss, I'll do anything for this role. Now he knows how to stretch you thin and still keep you in line. You tell the world, this dream is everything to me. Now they know exactly where to poke, delay, distract, and destroy. Not because they hate you, but because you gave them the map. Even those closest to you, family, friends, supporters, can undermine you unintentionally. Not because they're bad people, but because your revealed ambition activates a subconscious fear, a need to compare. And comparison often leads to sabotage. Quiet, passive, but real. That's why Machiavelli always said, protect your intentions, not just from enemies, from everyone. Because betrayal doesn't only come from malice, it comes from weakness. And your vulnerability becomes the pressure point for their insecurity. So here's what you do. Let them guess. Let them speculate. Let them spin theories. But never confirm, never confess. Let your work speak. Let your results shake them. Let your stillness unsettle them. And while the world is distracted by noise, you build in the dark. Because when it's finished, when the tower stands, when the move is made, when the influence is real, it will be undeniable. And they'll ask, how did we not see it coming? The answer will always be the same, because you were too busy watching the loud ones. And he was already moving, quiet, cold, unstoppable.